6 years ago, I tried starting a business. In 3 years, I lost 300,000. For many people, 300,000 may not seem like a lot. But for an ordinary factory worker like me, with no degree and no background, that was everything I had saved through 5 or 6 years of hard work. Now I am back in the factory again. What really hurt me wasn't losing the money. It was realizing later that some roads from the very beginning were never meant for you to make it through. Hello everyone, I'm John. Right now, I'm just an ordinary factory worker. 6 years ago, I took the hundreds of thousands I had saved and jumped into the automation equipment business. The first year, I thought I was going to become a boss. The second year, the pandemic and our lack of professionalism hit me hard across the face. The third year, 16 machines we couldn't deliver became the final straw that broke everything. The 300,000 was gone, and so were 3 years of my life. A lot of people ask me, did it hurt when you lost the 300,000? Honestly, by that point, I had already gone numb. What really hurt were the months when I decided to give up. I remember going to the client's place back then, looking at those 16 machines sitting there like scrap metal, and honestly not knowing what to do anymore. I no longer had the ability to turn things around. In this episode, I'm not going to talk about how I failed. What I want to talk about is this: how a person keeps living after failure. I couldn't accept it. I had put so much time and so much money into it. I kept waiting for a turning point, but it never came. During that time, I kept asking myself one question: what exactly went wrong? Later, I slowly realized the problem wasn't just the lack of orders, it was the limits of our entire team abilities. In the equipment business, design, programming, and on-site debugging, every step is critical. And when we started dealing with clients with higher standards or from completely different industries, our weaknesses became obvious very quickly. By the time we made the second round of additional investment, I already felt something was wrong. But back then, it wasn't that I didn't see the problems. I just didn't want to stop because it wasn't a matter of judgment. I simply couldn't let go. It wasn't until those machines failed later on that I finally accepted one thing: some problems cannot be solved just by working harder. Some outcomes are already decided from the very beginning. First, I talked with the old coworker who had brought me into this business. Honestly, we didn't need to say much. Deep down, we both knew this business could no longer continue. That night, we had a meal together. After drinking a little, I talked about everything I had experienced and seen over those 3 years, including all the problems within our team. I wasn't trying to blame anyone. I just knew one thing very clearly. We couldn't keep going like this anymore. That night, I told them I was leaving. That night, I got drunk again. What came after was the settlement, and it was very real. For him, this equipment business was his livelihood. So he chose to continue. He took responsibility for the after sales service of the old clients. As for the remaining money on the books, he took 20%, and the remaining 80% was split between me and the other co-worker. In the end, I lost 300,000. That year, it looked like we were making money, but once we added together what we had already lost earlier and everything that collapsed later on, the final result was still a loss. That was the price I paid for that decision. Later, I realized something. When you enter an industry, you don't truly understand. A lot of experience has to be bought little by little with money. After I left, he rented a small storefront outside and continued the business, but things did not go very well. As for me and the other old co-worker, we both went back to factory work. But before I truly returned to work, there was a period of time that was the hardest for me. I could barely sleep every night. My body was exhausted, but my mind wouldn't stop. I kept thinking over and over again about what I had done wrong and whether there was any step I could go back and redo. Sometimes I would get up and drink a little alcohol, hoping it would help me fall asleep. But many times, even alcohol didn't help. During that period, I rarely went outside. I didn't want to see people and I didn't want to explain anything. At that time, I had less than 20,000 left. And in 2023, I was supposed to get married. I had lost my wedding money too. I didn't dare tell my relative, friend, or former classmate about what had happened. For a period of time, I didn't even dare tell my fiancée. Later, she found out anyway. She didn't leave me. Instead, she took out 100,000 to support me. That was the moment I truly realized something. What I had lost wasn't just money. That 300,000 was something I had saved little by little through 5 or 6 years of factory work. It was originally the money I had prepared for marriage. If it weren't for the 100,000 she gave me, plus a little support from my parents later on, I probably wouldn't even have been able to get to that wedding. That was when I finally understood. What I had lost wasn't just 300,000. It was a life that could have been more stable. And she was the person who chose to stay when my life was at its most unstable. During that period, I slowly began to accept one thing. Life does not always follow the plans you originally made. But even so, you still have to keep moving forward. When I left 6 years ago, I thought I would never hear the sound of a factory time clock again in my life. Now, it rings twice a day, right on time. Sometimes it feels like a reminder. Sometimes it feels like it's catching me. At this workplace, I never talk to my coworkers about my past. I also deliberately avoid bringing up that period of my life. For me, this is a new beginning. In this unfamiliar industry, I'm mostly just learning. I don't argue and I don't explain too much. After everything I went through before, I've slowly learned to accept many arrangements that once felt unreasonable. Some people also ask me why I don't go to bigger cities like Shenzhen or Guangzhou. The reason is actually very simple. I was away from the industry for 3 years and many connections had already changed. And I was about to get married. Compared to uncertain opportunities, what I needed more was stability. This job may not be the best choice, but for the current me, it's a place where I can at least stand steadily again first. The person I am now is much more rational than before. I no longer chase brand names and I no longer spend money just to save face. What I care about more now is a way of living that I can sustain long term. I don't buy the most expensive things, but I don't buy the worst either. I choose the kind of things I can afford over the long run. I've gotten used to buying second-hand things. Child car seats, fishing rods, as long as they work, that's enough. Some things are not worth draining your life just to look better. A lot of people ask me if I regret it. If I hadn't lost that 300,000, I might still believe that opportunities were everywhere outside. Now I'm back. The money is gone, but I've slowly come to see something clearly, what I'm capable of and what I'm not. I've started to understand that this world is actually more complicated than I once imagined. Not everything will have a result just because you work hard. The old me always believed that if I pushed just a little harder, I could get past anything. Later, I realized that not everyone can become a boss, and not every effort will be seen or recognized. The person I am now is just an ordinary worker. Every day I go to work, get off work, clock in, and support my family. I didn't become the person I once imagined I would be, but at least I finally started to accept who I really am. The hardest thing is not failure, it's this. After failure, how do you keep living your life?